my home. There's no insurance to cover this. So this is where I'm having my issue. And it's like on top of losing any family and pets that I would have, I would have lost everything inside of my home. My daughter just had a birthday. She just got all of her birthday gifts, and it's like she would have lost that. My children would have lost a place to sleep. They would have lost, their safety enclosure, their habitat, their one comfort that they know from the world, that they could come here and just be themselves and be okay. So it's so much more than just losing your house. It's not four square walls. It's something that you kind of built on, and it's something that you're trying to hold on to. So there were so many different reasons why I saved my home, but especially because of the animals, because they were fucking stupid, and their dumbasses didn't leave out of the house at all. I thought dogs' instincts were to like get the fuck out, but no, these were to go underneath the bed and then piss everywhere. So, oh yeah, and that was another great thing. Anyways, after they went, I'm gonna bring that up later. After I went ahead and got assessed by the ambulance and the fire department, they went ahead and quickly took me away. I had black soot all inside of my nostrils. They went ahead and stayed behind to also care for my son. They actually are pretty amazing with technology. They did full vitals on him. They did a full cleanup on him. And on top of that, they did an x-ray of his chest. It was like mind blowing. And he came back completely fine. And they saved him a trip to have to go to the doctor's office. But not really, because I went ahead and made a doctor's appointment thereafter when I got home to make sure that he was double checked. And I also have a future appointment for him to get his heart checked out to make sure that it wasn't badly affected from the smoke. But I did get him out of the house pretty quickly after I had gotten started, before it really started to get smoky. So I'm glad to say that I'm hoping it's going to come out really, really good for the results. Um, at least I'm positive about that. Fingers crossed. I always prepare for the worst too. So anyways, I went to the hospital. Apparently, I was taken to St. Mary's, where they have a it's a trauma unit, but not a burn unit. So while I was there, I had melted plastic on my feet, that there were blisters forming underneath it. And when they went to go clean me off, they just did like a very gentle wipe down and everything. They really didn't have anybody who specialized with burns over there. And unfortunately, I felt like I was just dealing with a lot of students. And, the nurses that were there, were experienced, but they were not communicating with each other. And there was a lot of friction. You could see it, you could hear it. They would argue with each other on the floor. And there were moments where I was left for 3 4 hours, and I was left in my own waste. I was left in my own urine, in a puddle of it. There was urine being filled in the container on the side of my bed, and it was outpouring all over the floor. And it was because nobody was there to help me for over 4 hours at a time sometimes. So when other nurses would come in, they're like, "Oh, well, they did a shift change," and I was like, "Yeah, but for 4 hours they were doing a shift change. I asked somebody 4 hours ago to please help me go to the bathroom. They didn't." And they went ahead and said, "Oh no, it's okay. You have this thing called a pickle or whatever, and it's just gonna suck up your pee." And I was like, "Okay, but I haven't peed in hours, and I haven't gone to the bathroom in hours, and I really have to go badly." And they're like, "Don't worry, you're good." They didn't check on me. And for 4 hours, I was literally a own mess. And I was crying out, "Please, can somebody help me?" Pressing the nurse's button. Nobody answered. Nobody came. And everybody who did answer said, "Oh, don't worry, somebody will be there. Oh, don't worry, somebody will be there." But nobody ever showed up for hours. Then when the nurse, I don't know if it was like the head nurse in that area, she was obviously overworked, super stressed out, because she was snapping at me. She was saying, "Look at the shit that they left me." And all I was doing was like apologizing. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I couldn't hold it. And I asked for help, 5 hours ago, then 4 hours ago, and then three, and then two." And it's like, I've been asking for help for many, many hours now, and nobody's come. And everybody keeps telling me that they're going to come, but nobody ever showed up. And you could hear everybody on my floor screaming, help me, please. Somebody come help me, please. I need water, I need food, I messed myself, help me, help me. And it was constant, until the nurses would come and then they would finally pay attention to us. But it was literally like 2.5 days of that, not being paid attention to. They didn't wrap my burns. They left me exposed. When they finally did wrap my burns, they were like, okay, we're going to have the trauma unit come in here. Trauma unit looked like a bunch of students. They unwrapped my feet, took a look at it, pressed on it, told me if I could feel it or not. And then after that, left me there for about 5 hours with nobody coming. And I said, is anybody going to come and wrap my feet? Is anybody going to help take that burnt plastic off of my toes? They said, oh, we thought that was just tape that got dirtied on your feet. I said, no, that's burnt on plastic. I literally had to take one of their breathing units that they had me to try to breathe with to see if my lungs were getting affected by the smoke. And I used the actual blowing part because when you disconnect it, the rim around it is very sharp, and it has a thin edge. And I used it to scrape off all the burnt plastic off of my toe. And I showed one of the nurses that were there, who was just doing my temperature. She checked, and she was like, oh my gosh. She goes, that is burnt plastic. Nobody did that for you? And I was like, no. And the burnt team, trauma, apparently the burn team came over here, looked at it, poked at it, and then they just walked away and left me here. I had 2 x-rays done and don't know my results. I've been asking for those since day one. I came in there with shingles in my ears, and I've been treated by my own PCP care doctor, letting them know I need to continue my medication. Please provide me with shingle medicine, which is an antibiotic and or an antiviral. And basically, they kept telling me, oh, we'll get it for you, we'll get it for you. For 2.5 days they're gonna get it for me. I never got it, by the way. They told me I was gonna see my doctor who's attending me. There was literally a attending physician that was just floating through rooms and came to me and said, okay, who's this? What's going on here? For 2.5 days, the board that was in my room, and I had a private room, was never written my name, my date of birth, which are things that you are supposed to have to make sure that you're attending the right patient, by the way. Also, it didn't have any of the items that I was allergic to, which I am allergic to sulfur and to latex. They did not put those things up. And then on top of that, they did not write down on the board that I was a burn victim and patient. So every time I got a new person coming into my room, it was like a phlebotomist. But because he was a man, he came in there and, they come in with scrubs. I don't know if it's a doctor or not, but the first thing they come in, very aggressively ask me, okay, tell me what happened here. What's going on? What's the story? What happened? And then here comes a nurse right behind that guy talking about, oh, hey, listen, oh, you're here to do her blood. You're going to here to draw her blood. Okay, I'll do it on the other arm. By the way, she has Tourette's. And also, by the way, just be very calm and speaking to her. And then he was like, oh, okay, no problem. And then he would leave and not ask me any questions. Like, that's how I got treated by every single person that was in there. Whether they were there to pick up the trash, whether they were there to do my blood work, whether they were there to get my blood pressure or take my temperature. They were constantly asking me the same question over and over again, and it wasn't even the attending physician. I was constantly being harassed. So guess what? My tics kept going off. I kept having tic attacks. They weren't giving me medication when they were supposed to. They were like, oh, you were sleeping. I was like, it doesn't matter whether I'm sleeping or not. I have a fucking problem with my brain. And if you let pain get to my brain for even a second, I'm going to have a full freaking attack. You better wake me up and give me my medication no matter what, on time, no matter what. Of course I'm tired. Of course I'm sleeping. I was in a freaking fire. My body is trying to recuperate. Okay, I have a loss of fluids in my body because everything's blistering up. My whole body is heating up during the times where the pain medicine's going away. So guess what? I'm feeling nauseous. I'm feeling like my entire body's flushing over with heat. And I feel like I have to put ice packs all over my whole body just to feel at normal temperature. And not to feel like I want to throw up every second. I had to wrap my own wounds. I had to place ointment on my own wounds while I was there because nobody was doing it for me. When they left me with everything exposed, I said, you know what? Just leave me the wraps there. I'll do it myself. And I had to reuse the same wraps that they took off of me to put back onto my body. They never even gave me fresh wraps each day. That's how I was treated at St. Mary's Hospital in their trauma unit. And when the nurse and my tics were going off and I got a little bit voicey about how I felt about my feet not being wrapped, her response was, we're trauma. We're not burn, okay? We're not prepared to handle what you have. That's how I was responded by. And my response was, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to. I'm sorry. I can't help it when my voice goes up and I'm just tired. And nobody's been actually helping me. And I was left here for 4 hours in my own piss. And my vagina's on fire. That's what the fuck happened to me, okay? And that's how I had to respond to them, just for them to apologize to me and tell me that it's okay for me to fucking calm down. I even had to have some of the nurses fucking give me hugs just to help me calm down, and they had to rub my head. You know who did that? It was a nice nurse only taking my fucking temperature. That was the one who went ahead, and she got me ice, and she would get me some things and heat up my food, okay? Sweet, sweet lady. Sweet lady. Only person. Everybody else treated me like shit. I never even got to see my doctor who was supposed to discharge me. I got discharged by the nurses. And when I asked them, can I please get some wraps to go home with? Maybe a little bit of ointment or some basic Vaseline just to put some coating on it. You know what they told me? Sorry, we already went ahead and discharged you and we end your case. And they also only kept me there for an additional day because I had requested a wheelchair due to the fact that my feet are burned and I can't step or walk on the floor, and they had to assist me every time I had to use the bathroom, okay? And they had to change me on a regular basis. And they told me, oh well, the way it works is when the medical company will send you the wheelchair. When it finally does arrive here, it'll probably be a week from now. We'll just give you one of our used wheelchairs that we have here, and we'll keep the one that you get when it arrives here. And I said, I was like, okay, but can I please get my new wheelchair when you guys do receive it, and I'll bring you back your old one? She goes, no, we'll just keep your new one. And then another nurse the following day told me, oh, well, we want to discharge you already. I was like, but I'm waiting on my wheelchair. And she was like, the wheelchairs here are horrible. You're not going to want it. They don't close. They're not all cute and nice to be able to be portable. And then on top of that, they're missing half of the pieces and half of them don't even work. And I said, that's what you guys wanted to give me to go home with? She goes, trust me, you don't want that. Then the next lady who was actually doing the insurance for the wheelchair told me, oh, no, we're going to find you the newest one. But the nurse told me that they're terrible. She goes, no, she doesn't know what she's talking about, honey. We're going to find you a nice, as new as possible one that we have on our floor. It's the same thing as the one you're getting. My husband called the medical company and had to tell them, please do me a favor. My wife was in a fire. I need you to put a rush on her wheelchair. They said, oh my God, are you serious, sir? Absolutely. We'll have somebody there within the next 2 hours at her hospital coming from Miami. And the next thing I know, they're telling me, oh, we're going to discharge you at 7. The wheelchair's supposed to be here between 5 and 6. But if they don't get here by 7, we're going to keep it and we'll just give you whatever we have. They were doing everything just to keep brand new equipment that my insurance was letting out to me personally. And they wanted to paddle on their old used equipment that was missing parts that even their own nurses, who was the head nurse, complained about it wasn't even worth getting. That's the type of treatment I got at St. Mary's Hospital. So if you want to hear a quick review, that was it. It's terrible. And it... sorry. And then after being released 2.5 days later, I come home to finding my house still filled with soot everywhere. The floor is still dirty. Every single bed hadn't been changed. My children's hairs hadn't been washed. They hadn't taken showers. It was just them literally sitting in all these chemicals. My husband was killing himself, ripping out walls, ripping out floor, throwing away sheets, blankets, comforters, mattresses, disassembling the bed so he could get all the netting off that had melted on my son's bed. He told me that every single one of our vertical blinds that were plastic had completely melted down to the floor. They had incinerated. I said, that's crazy. I had shut off all the fire. He goes, the amount of heat that you were in that room had physically burnt down anything that was remotely fabric or plastic. He goes, I don't know how you survive that type of heat. And I was like, that's probably why I have to use ice packs now to keep myself cool. I put it around my neck, my chest, my arms, my feet. I have an ice pack right now on my feet because it just burns. Everything is searing and everything is hot. And I'm constantly hydrating with water, you know. Sorry, I've been here for a minute talking about what's going on because it's just been so much. So the Red Cross came out, they helped out. They gave us little packages. The very day that it happened and I got pulled away to the hospital, they came and they gave my husband little care packages of shampoo and soaps and everything. And I was like, I wish you guys would have used this that day. You were supposed to start getting yourself clean. You stayed in the house. You stayed in the house 3 days since I've been in the hospital. And, you know, come on. Nothing was taken care of. Nothing was taken care of. Except for my husband just killing himself. I was like, you have two grown-ass kids here, a 19-year-old and a 17-year-old, and you told me none of them could have taken off the sheets off of the bed, changed the sheets, washed laundry, throw away the plates and the cups because all that's contaminated, by the way. Red Cross made sure they went over all the safety things with us, as well as the fire department, letting us know that everything was contaminated in our house and we have to throw everything away and start from scratch with everything, including all of our food. We just did like $300 grocery shopping. All that went to the trash, except for whatever was in the fridge or the freezer. But everything else, garbage. You know, anything was outside exposed, bread, cereals, all those things, garbage. The Christmas tree had candy canes on it, garbage. The floors, the ceilings, everything. I mean, everything had to get super, super scrubbed down clean, you know, and we're still working on it. It's not done yet. Everything's still a work in progress. So that's what's been happening. And I did have Department of Children and Family. The moment I got discharged and got home, the following day, because I got discharged in the middle of the night, like at 8 o'clock at night, the following day, I had my manager from the park with one of her lackeys who, you know, does the cleanup around the neighborhood and stuff like that, one of the maintenance crew, right next to her with another buggy, along with the Department of Children and Family right at my door. And the Department of Children and Family is like, oh, I'm just here waiting for the police to come. We're doing an investigation on child endangerment. There was a fire and children involved. That this is protocol. And it's like, yes, I know, I understand. My father worked for the Department of Children and Family. My brother-in-law is a police officer. And my family, you know, is in the healthcare department. I completely understand what's going to happen and what's going to follow through from here on out. You know? But when they all approached me, I had a full attack because I just got discharged out of the hospital. I was on painkillers. My feet were blistered. My arms were blistered. I'm dealing with 3rd and 2nd degree and 1st degree burns. And my tics just went off and I started having an attack because I got a nonstop question after question after question, and they were drilling me. When did this happen? Why did it happen? Why are you still here? How are you living in there? Blah, blah, blah. And it was like, I couldn't. My brain just like got overwhelmed and literally started malfunctioning, and just random shit was coming out of my mouth and nothing was making sense. And I was trying to talk in between tics, you know, just having a full attack. My head was clicking all over the place. My body was everywhere. I couldn't even stand up straight anymore, you know. My husband had to help me back inside the house, and he had to stay outside talking to everybody, letting them know what happened the best he could, and had to wait for the police to come in. Then they came into our house. They did a quick inspection. We had to explain to them that, you know, our son who did it has, you know, mental disabilities, and you know, he's disabled himself, and, you know, this happened because he has sensory issues and he's extremely impulsive. but of course, the DCF worker was looking for anything. She was turning stones wherever she could. And she was like, I smell urine. What's the urine? Oh, there's animals in here. Oh, urine. It's like, we only have dogs. She saw cats outside because we have outside cats. And she was like, and we have them for a reason. They literally chase away mice that do invade our home. And we've had trouble with it in the past, which is why we have outdoor cats. We only just recently got them within this past year. So they don't come into our home. Not to mention my kids have allergies to cats, so they can't even have too much contact with them to begin with. But basically, the dogs, when they went hiding underneath the beds during the fire, they urinated. Nobody took them out. There was a lot of stuff going on. And I'm pretty sure in the past 3 days that I was gone, they weren't taken out, on the time. And they were probably extremely scared of the entire situation. Me screaming, the fire, the electricity going out, everything. That's pretty traumatizing to anybody. So I could only imagine an animal. And my pets had basically urinated underneath the beds. When after DCF left and making insinuations about the house smelling like piss, basically my kids started turning over every single one of their beds, and they're like, "What is she talking about? What is she?" I was like, "Dude, I could smell the piss." I was like, "I'm pretty sure the dogs peed underneath the bed." My senses are super heightened all the time, so I could smell things that they can't smell. So my kids went ahead and started looking, and they found out that the urine smell was actually coming from my son's room. All the dogs went hiding underneath his bed, and they peed there. So, and it just kind of, his bed is right, his room is right next to the entrance of the door as well. So it kind of just drafts over. Every time you open the house door, the smoke, proceeds. So we cleaned that up immediately. But it's just now I have been nonstop on the phone with DCF. No, not DCF, sorry. I've been on the phone nonstop with the health insurance company, my son's pediatrician, the medical supply company that's going to be supplying him, because they're the ones who got us the bed and the safety enclosure and the mattress. They're going to be replacing his mattress and his safety enclosure. They don't need to replace the bed, thank God. That thing was super expensive, just due to the fact that I was able to save that bed. The only thing that got damaged, it's wood and metal, so it holds up pretty strong. But that's what happened all within the day that I got discharged. The day following after that, it's probably one of my happiest and most upsetting days of my life. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to cut this video. Stay tuned for the next one.